You did it again today. Someone across the table crossed their arms, and within seconds, without thinking, without choosing, you crossed yours too. Someone laughed, and you laughed. Someone leaned in, and your body followed. You had no idea it was happening. That is not a coincidence. That is not politeness. That is one of the oldest survival programs your brain has ever run, and it has been running since long before you were born. It is called the Chameleon Effect, and once you understand it, you will never look at a conversation the same way again. In 1999, psychologists Tanya Chartrand and John Bargh published one of the most quietly disturbing studies in modern social psychology. They had strangers interact with actors who had been secretly instructed to perform specific physical behaviors, touching their face, shaking their foot, rubbing their arm. The participants, completely unaware, began mirroring those behaviors within minutes. They were not told to. They were not even paying attention to their own bodies. It just happened. Chartrand and Bargh called this the chameleon effect, the automatic unconscious tendency to mimic the postures, mannerisms, and expressions of the people around you. But here is what they found that no one talks about. The people who were mimicked reported liking the actor more. The interaction felt smoother. The connection felt real. The mimicry was invisible. The warmth it created was not. Your brain is doing something extraordinary here. It is using your body to understand someone else's mind. This is where it gets strange. The machinery behind mirroring is not located in the social parts of your brain. It is located in the motor cortex, the same region that controls your physical movements. Scientists call the neurons responsible for this mirror neurons. They were discovered almost by accident in the early 1990s when Italian neuroscientist Giacomo Rizzolatti and his team at the University of Parma were studying the brains of macaque monkeys. They had wired up individual neurons in the premotor cortex to fire when the monkey grabbed a peanut. Then one afternoon, a researcher reached for a peanut himself, and the monkey's neuron fired. The monkey had not moved. It had only watched. The neuron could not tell the difference between doing and observing. That discovery rewrote the understanding of how primates, including you, experience other minds. When you watch someone in pain, neurons associated with pain activate in your brain. When you watch someone smile, the neurons that produce your own smile fire. You are not just seeing other people. You are simulating them. Internally, silently, your nervous system is running a live model of every person in the room. Think about what that means. Right now, your brain is not just processing information about the people around you, it is becoming them, briefly, partially, just enough to understand what they are feeling and predict what they are about to do. This is empathy at the neurological level, not a feeling, a function, and it is ancient, far older than language, far older than civilization. Your ancestors lived in small bands of 30 to 100 people for hundreds of thousands of years. There was no writing, there were no contracts, there was no law. The only way to hold a group together was to feel what the group felt, to synchronize your internal state with the people beside you until you were not just cooperating but moving like a single organism. Mirroring was not a social nicety, it was infrastructure. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar, who developed the concept now known as Dunbar's number, the idea that human social groups max out at around 150 stable relationships, argued that social bonding in early human groups required constant maintenance, grooming, touch, shared ritual, and crucially, shared emotional states. Laughter, grief, fear, excitement, these were not private experiences. They rippled through the group like a signal. Your body picked them up and broadcast them back. You were a node in a network. You still are. This is why yawning is contagious. This is why you flinch when you watch someone get hurt. This is why you tear up at a movie even when you know, consciously, rationally, that nothing real is happening. Your mirror system does not fully distinguish between real and observed. It responds to the signal regardless of the source. But here is the counterintuitive part. The chameleon effect does not make you less individual. It makes you more connected. And connection, for a social species, is survival. Consider what happens when it breaks down. Research on individuals with certain autism spectrum conditions as well as some forms of psychopathy, shows disrupted or reduced mirror neuron activity. The ability to automatically simulate another person's internal state is diminished. The social world becomes harder to read, not because of a lack of intelligence, but because the automatic mimicry that makes social life feel effortless simply does not activate in the same way. When the mirror dims, the human world becomes a puzzle instead of a language. For most people, it never dims. It just runs quietly in the background, shaping every interaction you have ever had. You have been in conversations where something felt slightly off. The words were fine, the person was polite, but the rhythm was wrong. Nothing synced. You walked away unsettled without knowing why. What you were picking up on was the absence of mirroring. Your brain expected synchrony and did not find it. It flagged the interaction as unresolved. You have also been in conversations where everything clicked, where the other person finished your thought or laughed exactly when you did, or leaned in at the moment you leaned in. You called that chemistry. You called it a good connection. What it actually was, in neurological terms, was two nervous systems running the same program at the same time. David Huron, a music psychologist at Ohio State University, has studied why humans make music together, why every known human culture has communal singing, communal drumming, communal dance. His conclusion is that synchronized sound and movement trigger the same bonding chemistry as physical touch. The motor systems align. The mirror systems fire. The group begins to feel like one body. That is not metaphor. That is measurable neurochemistry. You are drawn to people who move like you, who speak at your pace, who hold their coffee cup the way you hold yours. This is not a quirk. This is your brain doing exactly what it was built to do. Scanning the environment for allies, using the body as a detection system. And here is the part that should make you pause. It works both ways. The people who are best at building rapport, therapists, skilled negotiators, the kind of salesperson you actually like, they have learned, consciously or not, to mirror deliberately, to slow their speech when yours slows, to lean when you lean, to match your energy before shifting it. They are using your own nervous system against you, or rather, with you, to make you feel understood. You are not being manipulated. You are being spoken to in a language your body already knows. The question is whether you are listening. Because if you pay attention, not to what people say, but to what their bodies do, and to what your body does in response, you will start to notice something. The mirror is always running. The signal is always there. Every time someone near you shifts in their seat and you shift in yours, every time a stranger's grief lands in your chest before you understand why, every time a room full of strangers begins clapping in unison, that is your ancient social nervous system doing its oldest job. You are not separate from the people around you. You never were. Your nervous system has always known that. It has been reaching toward them, quietly, automatically, since the moment you were born. Tonight, when you sit across from someone, watch what your hands do. Watch what theirs do. Watch what happens next. The mirror was already on. You just never looked into it.